So we're here today at Chinese Community Center on July 6th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We're here for the Houston Asian American Archive interviewing Chi-Mei Lin. My name is Priscilla Lee.
My name is Gina Rettenmeyer.
And we'll get started with where and when you were born.
Okay. I was born in a small town by Taipei, Taiwan. And basically I was born, grew up there until I came over to the United States.
Okay.
Yes.
And what was your town? Was it?
It's called Xindian. It's like a suburban of Taipei City, and Taipei is the capital of
Yes.
Taiwan. So it's like a 30 minutes drive to Taipei City, the downtown part of the city. So at the time, back in the 50s, it's a very rural, very countryside. Yeah.
Okay. So how would you describe your childhood and the environment you lived in?
I would say it was very peaceful and very simple, okay, because I consider myself a country girl, because I remember when I first went to Taipei for my high school, I basically need to learn how to follow the traffic signs, like the green light, red light, the direction, because back in the countryside, you basically just ride your bike or you walk, okay? It's all country roads. So, yeah, I think my childhood, it was I had a very happy childhood because I grew up with 3 brothers. I consider myself a tomboy type of girl.
So were you the oldest or like?
I'm in the middle, so I have an older brother and I have younger brothers.
Okay, nice. So was it a very did you know everybody in your neighborhood kind of environment?
Absolutely. My dad used to serve in the military, so I grew up in what we call right now is like a compound. Okay, so the whole street are families. They all are military families. So we have about 50 families on that same village, and we all know each other, and we know the children very well. We do a lot of things together. Yeah.
Can you describe some of the things that you did together?
Yeah, I always remember growing up in grade schools. We have, kind of similar age group kids, and we'll say after we finish homework, okay, we'll gather on the street, but the street is very safe, and we all have gardens of our own at that time. So we would do things together, like we will play badminton together, or we'll play dodgeball together. We will even compete like riding bikes, okay? So these are things I really enjoy, even as a girl. Yeah, I love to play with our neighbors' children after we finish our homework every night.
Nice. So you said your father was in the military, and what was his occupation?
Well, he actually grew up or going through what we call the Civil War time, right? So my dad, at the last year of high school, he basically left home and joined the military. So he went to the military school and graduated actually from the academy. So during that time, he actually following the Republic of China, which is Taiwan government, retreating from the communist government. So my dad actually left his hometown Qingdao, which is a northern part of China, and went to the academy, and then pretty much joined the war and retreat with the government through Hong Kong to Taiwan. So he's in the army, and at one time he also served in the U.S. Army, during the Korean War. So he didn't really talk too much about that part, because I guess the nature of the service, but we do remember that he went to Taiwan after the Korean War. Yeah.
Okay. And what did your mother do?
My mom, she actually worked, I think, after she finished high school and took some vocational training, because she also came to Taiwan while the Civil War is going on, right? So unfortunately, she didn't get to attend college because her age was just at that, moving away from China when she was finishing high school. But when her family and herself moved to Taipei, she was not able to follow the system, which, like college, you have to take an entrance exam. But she did take some vocational courses. So she worked for, I believe she worked for like a newspaper publisher briefly. And then when she got married, she didn't work. She was pretty much taking care of us. We have four, all together. And at a certain time when we all grown, she did go back to work as like, a clerk, kind of just to kill time, right? But most of the time, mom stay home with us. Yeah.
So what would you say are like the kind of principles did they raise you on, or like what kind of examples did you see them as?
I think for my generation, like my parents, both of them going through the war and leaving families and relatives behind, and start of their young family in Taiwan with nothing. So I remember my mom always share with us how important that is to be appreciative and to be grateful with what we have. And my dad is very generous in heart because he basically came to Taiwan by himself. So later on, he got married late because he always hoped that he would be able to go back to Qingdao, but things didn't happen that way. So he helped out a lot of his friends and people that he knew, because he really kept a very simple life for a while. So I know he support his friends' family a lot. So both of my parents are very generous in heart, that I know. And my mom especially reminded us while growing up, like you always need to know when people are successful, when they, reach certain achievement, look behind the effort they put in. Don't just, kind of admire what they have, from the facade. You always need to, understand people basically contribute, invest a lot to reach where they are. So in Chinese, we say we need to 知足, you need to be content with what you have, My mom is one that's a little bit more philosophical while growing up. Yeah, and my dad always just made sure that because the timing that they grew up and they gone through, he appreciate that we still have a place in Taipei, in Taiwan. We still have a country that we can call home. So he's very patriotic, let's put it this way.
And did you practice the religion at home growing up?
My family is not really practice a religion, but I did grow up in Catholic schools. We have 4 siblings, right? At very young, we went to kindergarten. That was pretty much run by Catholics church. So we basically got disciplined by nuns. Yeah. And then, of course, later on, I am a Christian, and some of my mom's family side, they are Christian, and then some of them later on practice Buddhism. Yeah.
Okay. So can you describe your schooling in Taiwan?
As I say, I grew up in the countryside, so however, I didn't miss any schooling, so to speak. I did go to what we call kindergarten. It's like a child care center since I was 3. It was very relaxing, and it's just a bunch of kids playing together. And of course, like I said, the nuns always teach us give us discipline. Okay, like you should do this, you shouldn't do that, things like that. But I have very close friends. They live in the same neighborhood, so it's a very close-knit community. Even going through elementary school, I went to a public school about 20 minutes away walk from my home, and but up to middle school, I went back to Catholic girls' school. So I actually attended girls' school all the way through until college. Yeah.
And I saw that you were part of an alumni association,
Yeah.
so that was related to your high school.
Right. That's in Taiwan. We don't have the mandatory school all the way to 12th grade. So at that time, now they do. Okay. We have to take what we call is competitive entrance exam if we want to go to a public school, because public school actually is better because it's free. Okay, kids that didn't really like, to do their homework, they end up having to go to private school, and their parents have to pay for that tuition. So our goal always is to get to a public school, and I actually made it to the First Taipei Girls High School, which was the rank #1 for high school for girls, and it's a public school, and it's in Taipei City, and I had to take the bus about 40 minutes, and the school start early, and so I remember I have to go to the bus stop pretty early in the morning, and run to the bus stop and get on the bus with a bunch of students. Okay, very cramped bus, and 3 years in Taipei, attending high school there, and that's the alum I joined because. A lot of our friends, after college, a lot of us came abroad, to go to advanced study. And then, so locally, there is a alum from the public school. And we have even teachers in her 90s come to our event. Yeah.
Wow.
It's about 200 people in that alum.
Mm-hmm. And so what was your favorite subject in high school?
I actually like math a lot. Yes.
Okay. Did your parents encourage you to go into a specific fields when you're applying for colleges?
Well, at that time, I thought I would go to we call the first group, which is engineering. I didn't because yes, my parents especially my dad, kind of influenced me. Well, he's really just like a dad. He always say, okay, you are my only girl, okay? And, like I said, my mom is a tomboy, so he always say, I hope you can go to art school or, study something like liberal arts. Please don't go to engineering school because I have 3 brothers, right? So I kind of listened at the time, but with at the same time, I have a small group of very good girlfriends. Okay, that went to engineering school. Yeah, so I ended up to be the only one that study humanity. Yeah.
So did you go to college in Taiwan?
In Taiwan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which college?
I went to we call Taida, which is the National Taiwan University.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you wanted to stay in Taiwan for your undergraduate years?
Well, during that time, because post-Civil War, Taiwan actually had a martial law. We, at the time, 70s, even 60s, students, when you finish college, you get, you can go abroad for advanced study. But travel is not as easy as nowadays. So we actually didn't think of going abroad because it would be very difficult. You can go abroad when you finish college and get admission from advanced study university, So majority of the students who choose to go abroad, they have to finish undergraduate in Taiwan. And then you have to take a TOEFL or GRE, those kind of tests to get a visa.
Okay. And what did you major in?
In graduate school?
Undergraduate.
Undergraduate, I was a dual degree major. I majored in English and education.
Okay.
Right.
Do you remember what your favorite class or something that stood out during your undergraduate years?
Undergraduate, when I was an English major, a lot of the courses are more like literature, European literature, English literature, American literature. We studied Shakespeare. But my favorite subject was journalism. I actually like journalism a lot. I guess I like the challenge and, just listening or exposing to what's going on, news in the world. So I remember I actually enjoyed taking journalism. But for my other dual focus in education, I like psychology and sociology a lot. Yeah.
And then what brought you to the United States?
At the time, in the late 70s, early 80s, we always think to come to the Western world will broaden our view. Especially when I decide to go on to education, and I'm just, very willing to learn the Western philosophy and their perspective toward education. As we all know, Chinese education is very traditional, and we actually well defined. Okay, the learning part or the ethics part. Okay, everything is well defined. But I'm kind of curious about the Western philosophy on education, on bringing up an individual, and how Western culture respect the individualism. Not to say Chinese culture didn't, but it's in a very different way. So with that, I came over to actually following the education track, even though, I did take a major in administration. But I practiced many years in psychology. Yeah.
So you came to the University of Michigan first?
Yes.
Okay. And then you had studied, it was a degree in educational administration and supervision.
Right, that's an A degree. But then I did take psychology as my elective.
Oh.
Usually when you're an administration major, they want you to have an elective, like you focus on something. So I did a psychology, and interesting enough, actually my first job start in the psychology field. Yeah.
So did you have any, your first impressions of the States? What was that like?
It was quite a culture shock in a way. Even though I studied English, so I was exposed to a lot of, English literature or American literature, but still, going from a semi-tropical city to Ann Arbor, where, that winter we got like 9 feet of snow. Okay, so. But I was quite amazed by the openness. Okay, not just talk about the campus itself. It's basically, it was a very liberal and open-minded campus, and it is a huge campus. I think University of Michigan is one of the largest universities. So they are. A very diverse international student group, at the U of M. So I lived in the dorm and befriended with roommates from South America, from the Philippines, and some of my classmates are from Middle East and Europe. So it was quite an experience. I really enjoyed it, because when you have roommates or befriend with people from different culture, from different continent, that's really a first-hand learning, right? And all of a sudden, things that I learned from the books become reality. Yeah. I enjoy my years at Ann Arbor.
Okay. And were your friends in the same program, or were they from different programs?
From different programs, because like the big dorm I stayed with, I do have one roommate. She's in the School of Education, but the other young lady, she's studying engineering. And then I also have a South America roommate. There are 4 of us, in the apartment. She actually she was just there to take ESL because she's much younger, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have any culture shocks?
I would say yes and no because, like I mentioned, you know, my undergraduate study really prepared myself, okay, for the Western culture, and but still, just attending, you know, graduate school there, language, you know, even though I was an English major, but I still remember the first semester I carried a much bigger tape recorder like this, okay, to my class, because yes, I can understand what the professor was sharing with us, but I couldn't just jot down the notes at the same time catch what he's talking about. So I carry a tape recorder with me for one semester. So I understand, you know, regardless how prepared you are, when you come from east to the west, we all encounter major adjustments. Yeah.
So did you experience any discrimination on campus or when you came?
I think at Michigan, I didn't personally, and honestly, if I remember looking around the campus, okay, because we have a very strong sports program then, you know, we went to Rose Bowl, and I think we got the championship that year. You see a lot of athletes, okay, students in the campus, and you know, they are very proud of themselves, and usually they are not white, okay, so not really in Ann Arbor, but at the same time, Ann Arbor is in Michigan, and Detroit in the late 70s, early 80s is going through a lot of social issues, okay, and there was a case about a Chinese guy, okay, actually, very sadly, he was killed because it was Chen Guoren, Vincent Chan, okay. Is that Vincent? I'm not sure the name, but I do know the Chinese name. That incident was a big, you know, headliner, okay. And so we understood when things like that happen, yes, you can say ignorance plus discrimination, and even though the discrimination came from ignorance, because you know the auto factories, okay, the two guys thought he was Japanese, and they got angry because they thought they lost their job because of the auto factory is going through so major changes because the Japanese, okay, so that was a tragedy, but really that did happen. At the same time, I was there at the city. It was just like 40 minutes drive from Ann Arbor. And so I know that city itself, you know, encountered a huge conflict via race, you know, or economic discrimination, you know. So it is an era where discrimination started to become an issue, yeah.
So how did it affect you? What did it make you feel?
I guess at that time, because I was just 2 years in America and pretty much lived in the campus, right? However, I was aware of that when my husband and I, we start job hunting, okay, we realized that the difference among races did impact how you can, you know, pursue your next step. My husband is an architect, okay. I remember he went to Boston and interviewed for a job, and he had a friend, okay, in Charlestown, where it's heavily, you know, resided by, I want to say, Irish people. And so when he was like on the street walking, and he remembered people would say something to him because he definitely didn't look like Irish, okay, he is from Taiwan as well. But at the time we couldn't fully understand why. But you know, being here longer, we realized, oh, that is what we call it may not be discrimination, but racial issues, okay, did exist. Not just African American, but even like, when an Asian guy walking the Charlestown, okay, Irish descent, will shout at him, about something. So we're aware of that when we start to, finishing schooling, going to the career path. Yeah.
Okay. And did you have, how did you go, like when you graduated from New Michigan, how did you look for jobs around the area?
We actually came to Texas after my husband finished his degree because I got out a little bit earlier. The main reason is being immigrant foreign students, okay, at the time, basically is the economy dictate where we're gonna land it at. So northern states at the time wasn't doing too well, so we decided to come to Texas, where he actually has a relative in Houston. That's what it brought us to Houston the first time. But then, unfortunately, I happened to have that oil crisis, okay, so he found the first offer in San Antonio, so we actually landed in San Antonio as our first city for job. And San Antonio is a very different city for Texas. And luckily, we started there, and it's a very friendly environment. And we enjoy what we call it is diverse culture over there, because it's heavily Latino, Hispanic culture, and it has a very small Chinese population. So we basically just make friends with, our neighbors and my kids. For a while, I remember my oldest son, he used to be the only Chinese or Asian boy in the class, or even in the whole grade. Yeah. That was back in early 80s, yeah.
So you moved to San Antonio in what year?
From 82 to 90, because 1990 was the year we came to Houston.
Okay. And what was your first job in San Antonio?
I work at the YMCA after school program because it's part-time, and my oldest son was 2.5, so I want to try a part-time job, but at the time I didn't have the green card yet, so you can say I was undocumented for like 6 months or something because I was waiting for my green card. But YMCA then was very supportive. They basically just pay me cash, I think. Or they just, give me a paycheck or something without asking for my work visa. Yeah. But that was very short term. Yeah. So I was after school teacher at the YMCA.
So what did you teach?
I taught arts and crafts and some sports activities. Yeah, I remember playing soccer with my children there.
Okay. And what did you do after being a part-time teacher there?
After I got my green card, I moved on to full-time, employment. So that's the time I start my full-time employee with the Goodwill Industries. They basically serve people with some kind of disability. So I do psychological testing with that population, and then also they have an assessment department where they help people looking for a job. But what we do is in the assessment department, we test people's aptitude. So it's pretty much like a vocational testing to help people find the right match for employment. Yeah. So that was my first full-time job. Yeah.
And that was still in San Antonio?
Yes.
Okay. And then you said you moved to Houston in 1990, and so then you came to the CCC?
No, I actually worked for a private sector company, but they are still doing rehab. And because when I was doing testing, okay, and a lot of that is vocational testing, and to people with some kind of disability. So when I came over, I worked for a private sector, like what we call it is work hardening facility. We treated injured workers, and so I work in a team with physical therapists, occupational therapists, and I do the vocational rehab. So it's a rehab center, but it's a private sector.
And was that the DRCA?
DRCA work well,
corporation?
yeah.
Okay. And then what brought you to CCC?
From that, actually, I did go back to Taipei for 5 years. Well, with the same reason, back in the late 80s, early 90s, actually, economy in Texas hit another low. So my husband received an offer in Taiwan to do some overseas projects. So that kind of gave us the opportunity to bring the two boys back to Taipei, and so when I was there, of course my boys are learning Chinese, and after we finished that assignment, coming back, I worked for Women's Home briefly. Then CCC recruited me. I did teach Chinese class at CCC before, before we moved back to Taipei. So my two boys are they're learning preschool, doing the phonics, and so I took them, not this facility, but at the very early phase, where at a much smaller site. While they are learning Chinese the first time, I was teaching there. So after I came back, I went back to rehab, full-time job. And then CCC's executive director then, she called me. She said, you know what? We really need professional human service, employees. But it's real hard to find a Chinese one because most of the Chinese, they are in different fields, okay? So basically, I'm the only one she knew that's in, education and in human services. So she basically recruited me and convinced me to come to CCC, and that was 1999 when I came back from Taipei.
Okay. And CCC was still a language school at that time? Or?
That was a Chinese school, and they just add job training and early childhood. Yeah, when I came over, I know there's only few social service, program there, and I remember job training was one of them.
Okay. And so you worked as a Chinese school teacher?
At that time, I actually took on the administration side, so I was the school principal, and then I became the deputy to the executive director.
Okay.
Yeah, because at the time I did accumulate a solid about 10-15 years field experience. And CCC, I believe at that time, the board is having a vision to grow and expand. Mm-hmm. So Nancy recruited me and said, we, would benefit, from my expertise and my experience in the nonprofit sector.
Okay. So up until then, what kind of experiences did you gain from your other jobs?
I guess, when we work in the human services, you understand, okay, the underserved population, the population with disability. Basically, we learn, even though we think all human beings are equal, but a lot of time reality didn't offer everybody the equal opportunity. So working in the human service domain, I learned that it takes an intentional effort to bring people to equal opportunities. Yeah, and then that's why I feel like, maybe it's my calling to come to CCC and work for Asian Americans, because I do speak the language, yes, and I do know the culture very well. And then, having been in America for, 10-15 years, I am at a good position to serve this population.
Yeah. And so you were deputy to the executive director, and then how did you become the CEO?
Well, Nancy at the time, this is the immigration generation. My former ED, Nancy, her parents were still in Hong Kong, but at the time, I guess, because of the aging issues, they have healthy issues. So Nancy decided to take an early retirement and to spend more time in Hong Kong to take care of her parents. So she basically retired 3 years after I, work as her assistant. And at the time, I actually didn't really consider applying for the ED position because I enjoy doing programming. Being the deputy, you basically work on the floor, right? ED pretty much is the person in charge. You have to do fundraising. I really don't want that headache, right? So I was very happy with being the deputy, but at the same time, Chinese Community Center, and you really want to have if you want to have an in-language, in-culture kind of administrator, that search went on for a while, okay? And it was very difficult to find. So she actually encouraged me. Even though she's exiting, she said, Chimay, I think you should send in your resume. So I did it the last day, before they closed the application. And then, of course, we had some very, very good candidates, but now I understand why I actually became or was chosen, because I do have a special set of skill set or experience that I can grow, help this agency to grow, and I can serve the population, the majority of the population we served at the time, which was predominantly Asian Americans,
What kind of challenges did you face when you first took on the role?
Honestly, at that time, coming from mainstream, agencies, I actually go through what we call a reverse adjustment, because Chinese Community Center then in the late 90s, we started as language school, and then it was volunteer run for a while. So my adjustment was I really want, procedures, policies in place so I can help run the agency, in a more efficient or effective way. Then I encountered some culture shock because CC at that time was really just fine, very family oriented, it's a very cozy culture, and everybody just, have what we call it is we're friends, right? We know each other, our kids know each other. So I was a little bit, anxious, because to me it's if we want to run CC like a mainstream, first tier agency, we really need to have guidelines. We need to have procedures. So that was the adjustment and also the effort I put in. The initial years, I believe I put in place a lot of staff training, a lot of outcome measurement practice. I want our agency to move from a moms and pop operation to an operation where we hold ourselves accountable. So my initial years, I would say the first 3-5 years, that was a main focus for me.
Were people supportive of that vision of becoming more mainstream?
It takes time because I need to be part of them first in order to bring them to the same vision. So initially, of course, people I wouldn't say they don't support me. They probably just didn't understand why I want to do things differently, right? Which is fine for 10 years plus, okay? Why all of a sudden we need to do things differently? I think it was that. So I learned, and my mentor actually became Nancy. she been with the agency for 6+ years before she retired, so she shared her experience with me. So I learned how to first be part of this family, the big family, and then together I need to convince them and form the same vision. So yes, there were, different opinions. I wouldn't say opposition, but it was not smooth. It takes an intentional effort, and I do understand that in our culture, in Chinese culture, we may not communicate as much. We do respect each another, but we don't communicate as much. However, to bring everybody to the same vision, communication is the only way. The first few years being the executive committee, that I would say that was quite an experience for me.
But you receive a lot of mentorship from Nancy.
From Nancy, and then of course CCC is part of the United Way of Greater Houston. So United Way actually has been the agency's mentor. I would say that they coach us, to develop the outcome measurement practice, and they offer us staff training, professional training. We are very lucky in Houston. Our United Way is, really top of the line among all the United Way USA. This is a very strong and high leadership, I would say.
Okay. So do they provide financial help as well, or?
Yes, since we became a United Way agency in 1991, United Way usually will do their campaign and then allocate some operational funding to member agencies. But we're just very pleased that while CCC grows from the 90s to 2000, when we expand to, from youth, adult education to senior program, their funding increase accordingly. So right now we are a very solid and very reputable United Way agency.
And what year did you become CEO?
2002.
Okay.
Well, actually, I was the executive director, and it was 3 years ago we actually changed the executive director into CEO. Because CEO, private sector tend to use CEO. Nonprofit, we call the administrator executive director. Right?
Okay. And with your years of being here, how have you seen CCC evolve?
Like I described, because we originated as a language school with a group of very committed parents. It's volunteer run, so we run very healthy in a way because it's volunteer run. But then when we evolve into more professional services, human services, job training, early childhood education, the professional part becomes stronger and stronger. And like I said, when we joined the United Way of Greater Houston, and many of our programs receive national accreditation, that's how CCC evolved or grows from a volunteer-run language school to a pretty much a first-tier nonprofit agency in Houston. But it did take a while because we were founded in 1979. Next year, it's going to be our 40th year anniversary. So, a lot of dedication, a lot of support from the community make this the growth happen.
So how have you seen the demographics change at CCC?
It did change quite a bit, the first 10, 15 years, you basically see the first generation immigrant families here, right? Parents want their kids to keep their mother tongue, so they drive them to language school and spend a weekend here. And then, with the influx of immigrants from Asian country in the late 90s, okay, you will see a more diverse Asian families here. Some of them from Vietnam, some of them from Hong Kong, some of them from Singapore. So the Chinese Community Center is pretty much more like an Asian community center. But the globalization, the Houston's local economy, with oil and gas industry and the very strong Texas Medical Center, we see expatriates from oil and gas company need to go to Asian countries. Many of the professional employees or engineers, they come to CC and learn Chinese. So our Chinese school basically is the first indicator for the diversity of different, population coming to language school. We see it from 10% to 15% to now, I would say 40% of language school students, they are non-Asian. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then like a job training, program. If people who want to get a skill upgrading and they live in this Southwest neighborhood, and this neighborhood actually serves as first hub for a lot of immigrant families, be it from South America or from Asian countries, right? So when we offer job training program, you can walk into the classroom. You may not even see a Chinese face there, right? But they are all from the Bel Air area, yeah.
Okay. So what programs does CCC plan on expanding in the future?
At this time, we are going through a construction to build a senior center. Our board actually, they do strategic planning, I would say every 3 to 5 years. However, the census, usually is the following year of the census. They always provide the analytical data that usually serve as a direction for what kind of social services we're gonna invest, So from 2000, we realized aging is a global issue. So we established the senior department. That is the most new department we established. We had early childhood, we have youth, we have job training, adult education. We add senior services after census 2000. 2010, the board actually made a decision after the analytical data became available. Wow, Asian population is growing. It's fastest growing segment. And then aging is still a global issue. So with that, we decide to expand by going through a capital expansion. So that decision was made at our 2011 board retreat, which is like a strategic planning. In 2014, with 3 years feasibility, we decided to kick off a second capital campaign. So now, if you take a look at that north side, we will add about 25,000 square footage at the end of the year.
And that's the New Horizons project?
Yes.
Okay.
We will have a senior center. We're also going to add a community space on the second floor. We have an auditorium, conference center, and we also convert a warehouse space into a recreational center. Right?
Oh, wow. And so what are your long-term and also short-term goals for CCC?
That's really, as we grow, our short-term goal is to make sure when we finish our capital expansion, our new program will be ready. We will have a state license, adult day program. We will expand our recreational activity for the youth and for the retirement population. We want to make sure when we finish the capital campaign, financially and programming, we're ready. And then long-term goal is by the time this community center become the community center for the Southwest Houston, we really want to be part of this community, including the management district, the Bel-Air corridor, a lot of small business development. Center really want to be just a strong partner to this neighborhood.
And in relation to like the board, how are board members chosen, and in what increments of time are they chosen?
I have to say I'm very proud that the CC's board is the most powerful one. Okay, in a way, we have a very diverse board. Okay, we have 19 members right now. With different expertise. We go by the need, okay? So every year we have board election, but our board usually will serve a 3-year term, and there is a term limit. So, people, even though they are so contributing, but when they hit a term limit, they do need to exit, and we call it they need to graduate or take a sabbatical. And if we continue to have that need, we will re-elect them to join the board. At this time, okay, we have finance committee and fund development committee, and we also have program committee. When we decide to go on the capital campaign, we actually activate our long-range planning committee. Long-range planning committee basically focus on long-term facility expansion, okay, that involve capital campaign. So CC's board is very healthy and highly functional.
And on the financial aspect of CCC, besides the United Way of Greater Houston, what other financial support do you get from the community and possibly the government as well?
We actually run a very healthy operation, and this is what I call, the golden rule, okay? 1/3 of our funding need to come from public sector. The second third come from private sector, which include the foundation, corporate, individual donation. The other third, the rest, do need to be fee-based, meaning we have to generate the revenue ourselves. I think in that manner, a nonprofit agency, especially direct service agency, we don't need to worry about what if this policy change, okay? Say if an agency heavily depends on federal or public sector funding, what if the policy change? Then the agency gonna face major financial crisis, right? And since, we are healthy, so really happy, we're very lucky. We do have like an early childhood childcare center, nationally accredited. If families are regular income, they pay tuition. Language school on Saturday and Sunday, when people want to join our gym to play sports, they pay membership fee, okay? So we do have few what we call revenue generating programs, but we do our fund development, grant writer, we write proposals to seek funding and support from Greater Houston Area Foundation or even National Foundation. And then of course, the service, the nature of our service, we always apply for public funding ranging from federal, state, and the local. But the balance, ideally should be 33, 33, 33.
Okay. And then how do you determine how to distribute the funding through the programs at CCC?
We do have business planning every year, and out of business planning, the core services, we have 5 core services at CCC. We have a nationally accredited childcare center, a very strong after-school program, and they do whole day summer camp at this time of the year. We also have adult education. They provide ESL job training, citizenship, then the senior program, right? A lot of benefit counseling, health management workshop, and going forward is the adult day program, and besides our oldest program, which is the language school. So we have 5 course services. At the business planning, every department, they would review their operational budget and spell out or discuss what would be a potential new program, or do we need to modify certain program. That will kind of help the management to allocate the funding. And then of course, if you see the need, if we do not have the funding, then we will write proposal to look for funding, because if we decide that is an area we need to go in, okay, because it has high need, then we will find some support to support that expansion. So allocation of the funding basically is by the business plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And does CCC have partnerships with other social service organizations in Houston, or like other Asian American organizations in Houston?
Yes, actually, that's almost a must nowadays. Nonprofits, okay, our resources are very limited. So capacity building will give us the opportunity to expand our resources, all the way from Red Cross, okay, we're a voluntary shelter for Red Cross, to like MD Anderson, when we do health project, health fair, we actually have a lot of programming partners, okay. Even from the community service side, we invite HPD, Houston Public Library, to come to our community fair, because we want our parents or families to know where they can find resources when they have a need, right? So we build our partner every day when we find opportunity. Yeah.
How about other Asian American social services in the U.S.? Have you guys formed partnerships with them, or like how would you compare to the other services that they have?
Yes, we do. We are part of some national initiative. Some of the program actually originated from national level. There is a housing project originated from National Capacity, which is a Washington, D.C. based organization. And we are part of a senior employment program that's under NAPCA, which is also an API, Agency on Aging. Okay, so we have national partners and then other API agencies, even locally, like when we're doing Harvey Relief, we partner with Both People, SOS, VNT, and we also have OCA Houston. And if you look at CEC, our office building here, we already have 3 you cannot say API, just smaller size nonprofits, they co-house with us. Our board decide, when we have our big facility, we want to reserve some space to share with smaller size agents where they didn't have their own facility, right? So we have OCA Houston here, we have Light and Salt, and then we also have an AATA, Asian Against Domestic Abuse here.
Okay.
So our board and in social services, we believe in capacity building and the partnership.
Okay. And what is a typical day, like what kind of activities are you involved in your role?
At this time, okay, like 2018, I can tell you, I'm lucky today you didn't see me wear my hard hat, okay? Basically, I do need to attend outside meetings, okay? Because as I mentioned, we're in a lot of collaborative with other fellow agencies. And then we also, I actually do need to monitor our financial status, not to say check into the financial statements, the balance sheet, no, just basically like this time of the year, we know the construction is midway through. At the end of the year, we have to pay out to the contractor. So I will spend some time to take a look at our financial standing, any fundraising, effort we need to put in. So part of that is that physical responsibility, right? And then, of course, in the afternoon, I will do more programming, or what we call it is administrative duty. Like I remember this afternoon, after this interview, I will be conducting staff evaluation, and I only do the director level. So that usually is a very standard CEO's day at a nonprofit. You know, you take care of the physical part, and then you take care of the, collaborative, or what we call it is the presentation of the agency into the, collaborative. And then, of course, there are some in-house duties, right? And not just HR. Sometimes if we decide to go in with a new proposal, I will sit down with the program director and the grant writer and see what kind of, programs or service we're gonna present in the proposal. So some of that planning, also is, part of the CEO's daily job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you faced any challenges as a female CEO in Houston?
Of course, yeah. Earlier years, even in the private sector, now too. But because nonprofit, I would say 90%, if not even higher, of nonprofit practitioners, we are all females, okay? So among ourselves, of course, we're blind, okay? But we're aware of it, okay? When you go out to talk with a outside person, as simple as our contractor, I need to be well prepared. If I carry my prints and call for a meeting, right? Very likely you're gonna walk into a group of tall guys. They are, plumbers, electricians, they are contractors, okay? A female administrator or CEO, okay? We need to know how to present ourselves and communicate in an equally respectful way when we deal with that situation, right? Let alone if you go to a different sector and you're a female, right? And you encounter a male-dominant CEO environment. I guess coming from psychology field, okay, background, I want to make sure that I will make sure people will treat me equally. The best way is you get yourself prepared. You need to do your homework, okay? And then you need to also learn how to stand up for yourself. I would say females sometimes have our own way, but you definitely need to know some principle need to stand firm. Okay, so I have encountered a few incidents where I just have to, kind of stood up for myself. But definitely the gender issue, especially at the top level executives, it is there. Yeah.
And how about as an Asian CEO? Have you faced any challenges?
In the nonprofit sector, especially being here, pretty much over 10, 15 years, okay, myself, okay, the nonprofit industry respect me very well. And however, we recognize that being the minority of minority. Look at the census. API or Chinese only count for single digit, right? We have very little resources. And therefore, sometimes when I go to, a collaborative meeting, when larger agency, for example, I'm just making things up, okay? If how YMCA or Girl Scout can talk in that scale, CC cannot, because we're only a 3.5 million operation. And our population in total in Houston is only 6%. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there are some pre-existing, I don't want to say pre-existing limitation, but there are some pre-existing facts that make us API CEOs feel like somehow there is limited resources. Not coming from outside, is a realization from myself. Yeah.
How do you go about like around those limitations, I guess?
That is ongoing homework, because we know we cannot just compromise or settle with that limitation, right? So we constantly learn how to maximize our resources. That's why we always build partnership. And the other thing is we make the best use of what we have. Sometimes people say, oh, Asian people are just hardworking, right? One person can do 3 people's job. It's not really that. It's always like knowing that API is a minority. So we do need to put in extra effort in order to leverage larger outcome. So it's an intentional behavior. At this time, that's how I share with my team here. If we work extra harder, we actually, leverage our much higher outcome. It's not because I'm a slave driver. It's because we're only having this much resources. Yeah.
We read that you got the Harvard Business Scholarship, and that you're also in the Class 35, the ALF, the American Leadership Forum, Class 35. So how have these opportunities helped you gain experience in helping CCC grow?
Back in 2007, it's 10 years ago, I went to a Harvard Kennedy School, and that was very eye-opening. I was very pleased because the Asian alumni, API alumni from the business school, they offer 1 full scholarship a year, and that year somebody invited me to compete, and I got the spot. Okay, it was an intensive study at the business school with, I want to say, close to 100 CEOs from all over the world. So it was well prepared from that project, okay, or from that week-long training. We get to discuss world-famous cases happening in the nonprofit world, from World Bank, from what we call it is nature preservation and water issue in Africa. These are huge, or even the medical system in America, like from Boston, okay, where it was a huge medical community hospital system. They talk about important, okay, nonprofit challenges, okay, and the training is on how CEOs focus on problem solving or alternative thinking. I feel like, I never studied that hard all my life. Okay, doing that 7 days training, and basically we got locked into that school, and 7 in the morning we need to get up and study the case. Okay, and they find this thick, and several of them, and of course they have the top-notch professors there, and just interact with people from Geneva, from different countries, and from different sector, meaning we have CEOs from the higher education, from the university system, from hospital system, from banking system, but they are all working in the nonprofit. That experience was just, so valuable. And then coming back, I'm just very eager to share with my team. It's really the problem-solving focus. sometimes, it's human nature. We tend to get tangled into that issue itself. You get frustrated, you get anxious, and there's a lot of negative energy. But at that, nonprofit executive training, you're giving a major crisis, and in such a short period of time, you need to come up with a solution. Okay, so that was that experience and enlightenment. Come back and call my team, share with them. Yeah, and of course at the American Leadership Forum, it's really the support and fellowship. Okay, what's that word? The camaraderie. Okay, that we build. So it's more like in psychology, that's a solid support group because we're financially different sector. We have private sector, we have public sector, and then we have people. They have their entrepreneurs. Okay, we all come together. And if you spend we actually spend the whole year. Okay, study different social issues, but at the same time we spend a whole week in the mountain wilderness, okay, with nothing, practically nothing, okay. That's when you really find the support because the trust need to be there, and that also is a very unique experience for me.
So how about the American Leadership Forum?
Yeah, that's the American Leadership Forum.
That was the American.
Right, the
Okay.
one that we spent whole year study social issues, and then we went, pretty much like locked down, in a cabin in the wilderness. Yeah, and it somehow stimulate the innermost is the trust issue, the love, the care, because you don't have any, you don't have your Wi-Fi, you don't have your cell phone, and you take care of each another. We have some physical, training challenge. You have to do rock climbing. You have to climb the mountain. Our team captain is a 72-year-old lady, and you definitely want to make sure we go in 25, we come back 25 in one piece, right? So the American Leadership Forum, and then the level of everybody's, thinking and experience. When we talk about social issues, that was also very enlightening. Yeah.
So what was some of the main, visions that you came back with to CCC that you hope to enact from just learning through those experiences?
Whenever CEOs went to leadership training, some people didn't bother to. They think, gee, if I have more time, I need to stay in and handle my business, right? But it is necessary, especially when you have opportunity to go to a Harvard Business School or be invited into the American Leadership Forum, because the bottom line is we're still human beings. Okay, you have to accept that there's always room to seek support and room to grow. So, I don't go to leadership training every year, but whenever I found one that's highly recommended, and later on, I truly found out I learned and gained a lot from that. I think that benefited me as an individual, because a lot of time people say CEOs or executive directors, you get burned out easily. You can use that leadership opportunity as a support group, like I said, because you're talking with fellow CEOs. Okay, and then on the other hand, you still learn, because nonprofit is a very special, unique industry, but we are still part of this whole community, whole society. So the leadership training will offer me the opportunity to interact with leaders from business sector. Okay, yeah. So I actually the American Leadership Forum and the Harvard Business School training. I personally benefit from these two training tremendously.
Great. And so, how do you balance work and family life?
That's a learned behavior. I mean, or I have to learn it. Earlier years, I have to say, being the first generation immigrant, my two boys basically went to childcare, daycare, okay, and then later on, when they, moving into the teenager age, our family moved too, right? Because my husband's work, and we had some challenging years there, and I actually is not doing very well on that aspect, but I learned. I always just like, yeah, I may not know better the first time, but after certain challenges, and I say, wow, I do need to find a balance, and then not just with the family, but also with myself, my health, So to me, it's a work in progress even now, and now I'm a grandma. I look at my granddaughter, I was thinking, wow, when my boys were that age, I didn't have the time and the energy to attend to them as much as I'm doing now to my granddaughter. But at the same time, I look at my grown children, their parents now, right? So I say, they actually have the luxury, or they are better planner. They are taking care of their children, giving them the adequate care and attention much better than I did. So I always don't think I passed that one. And I have to be very honest, but I can tell you, I learned. So, so being CEO, being female CEO, some of them I really, I haven't seen too many of us that actually did that. We say you're grade 8, okay? I probably did my job at a CCC at a pretty high ranking, but then not with my two children. But fortunately, we remain very close, okay? And they're very understanding. Boys, they don't show too much affection, but looking back, I realized that they were very supportive and they were very understanding. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know at that time. I just feel like every day, okay, I have to rush them and send and drop them off at the daycare, and they're sometimes the last one to be picked up because I have something at the office I have to finish. I still remember when I picked them up, if they were the last one at the daycare, how sad they look. Okay, so that's why I have to give thanks, to my family, because even though it was not the ideal situation, at least they were not mad at me. That's why I say they're very supportive and understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, where did you meet your husband?
Actually, we met in Ann Arbor.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing is we came from the same small town, okay, but we didn't know each other then. And he was a little bit older than I am. He was in architecture school. I went to education college, but we lived in a huge student dorm. Okay, so we ran into each other, and then of course, when you were foreign students, okay, you're always bound very quick with people coming from your hometown. So that's how I met my husband.
Okay. And what year did you marry?
81.
81.
Yeah.
Okay. And so with CCC trying to bridge East and West,
Yes.
did you also try to do that at home when you guys were living in the U.S.? What kind of, did you still celebrate Chinese traditions, New Year's?
We always do, and I think that's the part of being an immigrant. We can never forget or let go of our roots, right? So it's always a big deal. And I remember way back 30-some years ago, making an international phone call is so expensive, right? We always save, and then we made sure we will call both parents, okay, on New Year's Eve, and the line will be so busy, and you just keep dialing. But that's the most important thing. And of course, with not so good cooking skills, I still try to make dumplings because, my parents are from northern China. So, and then nowadays, when they come to my house for Lunar New Year dinner, they know I'm going to make dumplings. I don't care whether it tastes good or not, okay, but that's just part of the celebration, and that's part of our roots, right? Yes, we do. I actually did send my two boys to Chinese school until they finished high school, and they appreciate more and more communicating or talk to me in Chinese now, because I guess the globalization, and also when you reach a certain age, you really appreciate your mother culture. So actually now, we still keep the habit of, communicate or just, conversation in Chinese, and I talk to my granddaughter in Chinese as much as I can.
Okay. So how would you identify yourself?
I would say I'm just an Asian American. I mean, even I see myself as a Texan, given the years I spent here in Texas, much longer than in my hometown, right? Why? Because, number one, I actually did study English at a young age, right? And then I was in human services. Then we go through globalization. All these gonna make us all global citizens, but it's your roots, your heritage. I always carry my last name as Lin or my maiden name as Hua, and the beauty of Chinese culture, it's almost like, even though I'm not a Chinese, if I get exposed or learn the Chinese culture at a young age, you would love it. Yeah, and that's why, I always see myself as, Chinese American. Yeah, but very balanced, very global way. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Juna, did you have any questions? No? Okay. So do you still have family in Taiwan or China?
I have 3 brothers, right?
Yes.
They all spend time in Taiwan. One of them spent half of the time in San Francisco because he retired as a businessman, so he has a place in San Francisco. But my other 2 brothers, they are in Taiwan because I came over here as a foreign student. Yeah.
So in the beginning, were your parents supportive of you coming to the States to study?
They actually did. They did more than other parents. Basically, like I said, my dad was in the military, and I came over to study, graduate degree, right? Back home, when I go to public high school and the university, it was free. Coming here, I basically used my dad's retirement fund. So, and I was the only girl, right? And I have to say, my dad just loved me, okay? More than my brothers, yeah. Because they believe, especially my mom, she always tell me, you can always be what you want to be. Don't be intimidated just because you are a girl. I guess for her, she also had 3 brothers, okay, and she's the only girl, but she has to go through the Civil War. He moved with the school, so he was like, when we call boarding school, that was not like an elite boarding school. It's like basically their parent couldn't go with them, and the school just took them as refugees, right? So they call themselves displaced students, okay? He basically grew up without his parents being around her, but then she also learned how to be independent. So she always reminded me, like, you can always pursue what you want to be, and you may feel intimidated sometimes by males, don't let them, you know. I remember my mom always told me this since I was little, yeah.
And so, what kind of hobbies do you have right now? Yeah.
Believe it or not, okay, I love to watch black and white movies. Yeah, I mean, still, you know, being an English major, you know, when I was a teenager, it played a part in that. I did study Shakespeare, like I said, so I like to watch those Jane Austen movies or those black and white, and I, of course, earlier years I do play a lot of sports, okay, but now I do gardening.
Okay.
But my best hobby is spend time with my grandkids.
So what advice would you have for Asian Americans or like recent immigrants to the United States?
It's a good, you know, it's a good question in a way, because now, you know, just this year, we didn't really have a very friendly immigration policy, right? But put that aside, okay, I actually remember it's a choice for us to go to a different country, right? To come to America. It's a choice back in the 80s, because we're not refugees, okay? To certain people, that's not a choice, that's their survival way. But to us, it's a choice to pursue a dream. So if we decide to come to America, you do need to know why you want to come to America. If you're here to pursue a dream, you need to have the realization that nothing is equal or fair, but you earned it. So immigrants, we do need to, you know, have that preparation, unless your family actually is a good providing source, right? Otherwise, from my personal experience, basically, we need to earn what we have, okay, or what you want to have. However, because the time has changed now than 30, 40 years ago, you have to say the technology, okay, has changed a lot of things. Asian Americans, okay, if they come to America because of their talents, I know that they will make it to the level they deserve, right? Much easier. But at the same time, I do want to make sure that they appreciate that. Yeah, because nothing, you know, comes easy, honestly, yeah.
We are running out of time because we want to respect your time.
Okay.
One last question we have is, what would you consider your greatest accomplishment so far in life?
Well, I would say I really enjoy being part of the human services. It gives me so much joy to see how a family or an individual break through, okay, through their difficulties or hard times because the services were able to provide by me, okay, or by the agency. So all the 30 plus years really are my end, you know, my practice in the human services is to see people grow. Yeah.
So is there anything else you would like to add that we haven't asked?
No,